everyone, Miss Nikisha here from the Long Branch Free Public Library, and today we're going to be making planters. So I have three different options here. You can use whatever you have at home. It should be fine. So here we have what's called a terracotta pot. This is about a 3-inch pot, and it has a hole at the bottom, and it has a kind of like a clay feel to it. So that's the one we're going to use. And then I also have an old yogurt container that we're going to paint as well. What you want to do with this though is we have to put holes in the bottom. And the reason we want to do that is if we're going to put a plant in here, we can't have the water sitting at the bottom of the planter because that'll cause the roots to die and then your plant will probably die. So you have to have a way of letting the water come out so that the plant can take whatever water it needs, and then whatever it doesn't need, it'll go to the bottom throughout the bottom through the holes. And then here we have just a plastic pot that I found in the basement. And we're going to see if we could decorate this. So let me show you. I did not decorate this one, but this is just an old yogurt container that I decided that I was going to grow a pepper plant in. It's kind of tiny now. I've been growing it for about 2.5 weeks. Once it gets to about this height, I'll be bringing it outside to plant in my garden. And then hopefully this summer I'll have some peppers. Okay, and then I wanted to show you one more. A friend of mine made this one for me. It's also a terracotta pot. It's much larger, and she decided that she was going to paint a pretty flower on this one. So we're going to do something like that with the other three. Okay, so what you're going to need for this craft today are paintbrushes. I have sponge paintbrushes, and then I have regular paintbrushes. Whatever you have at home should be fine. I'm using acrylic paint, so I have this metallic paint that I'm going to use. I thought looked pretty cool. And then I had a bunch of leftover paint from a craft I was doing. It's a bunch of different colors in the green family that we'll be using. Greens. And then I also grabbed some purple as well. That's what we'll be using. And then I also grabbed some water to clean my paintbrushes. I grabbed some napkins just in case I make a mess. If you have a newspaper or something that you can cover your workstation, that's a good idea too, so that if you do spill your paint, no big deal. It will be on the newspaper or whatever it is that you have. And then I have painter's tape I'm going to use so that I can create lines on my project. And then painter's tape is good because when it's time to take the paint off, take the tape off of your project, you won't mess up your project by what's being left behind. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to tape this one off. This one I'm just going to paint one solid color, and then this one I'm going to just paint the top a different color. I thought I would just use maybe one of the greens just to jazz it up a little bit. So let's get started with taping our terracotta. So like I said, I'm going to take a piece of my painter's tape. It's really easy tape to rip. So you can just rip it like so. Let's see, I think I want to create some triangles on here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start at the top. I put a little bit of the tape inside of the container. And then we're going to fold it down at an angle. And then you want to push it down. And you want to make sure it's nice and flat and that you have no holes. or no spacing, so I have a little bit of spacing here, so I'll have to readjust, because when I start to paint, the paint will get underneath that. So I just want to fix that so I don't get any paint, and then I have nice, crisp, clean lines. Alright, so I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to finish taping this one, and then we'll get started with our painting. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, so I taped my terracotta pot and I got to as close as to a triangle as I possibly could. So I think that'll be good enough. Alright, so I'm going to use the metallic paint on this one. I've painted terracotta pots before, and you typically need about 2 coats of paint on there. So we'll do one first, let it dry, and then we're going to go to our other containers and we're going to paint those while we wait for this one to dry. Now if I can get this open, we can get started. Let me get some scissors. Just a moment. It looks like I used my scissors and didn't put them back. This is why it's important to clean up after yourself. So I'll have to use this. Okay, got it. I think. Perfect. Alright. And then this is just a little container that I'm going to be pouring my paint on. And then, alright. We're just going to pour a little bit first, and if I need more, so I just poured a very little bit, about the size of a quarter. And then, like I said, if I need more, I can go back, because if you pour too much, it's a little bit harder to put it back into your container. So I have my pot here. I'm just going to dip it into my paint, and then we're just going to paint over the tape, and just cover the whole thing. So this color is a little bit close to the actual color of the terracotta pot, but there's glitter in this paint, so when it dries, it's going to look really good. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on. Okay. Now it's time to let this one sit. So I'm going to put it off to the side, let it sit to dry. And now we're going to paint our plastic yogurt container. So I'm going to start by taking this color paint and I got my sponge paintbrush because we're going to be covering a lot of it, so I got the bigger one. And we're just going to dip that in there, get some paint, and just cover our project. I find when you're painting something like that, put your hand on the inside so that you don't get paint all over your hands, and then you can paint it nice and simple, just like that. I love painting. It's fun. Look at that. Doesn't that look great? And then once we put our plan in there, it's going to look even better. Okay, so I'm just going to finish covering this, and then we'll move on to our next planner. Alright. Painting, painting. I don't know if you've noticed, but I like singing songs when I'm doing stuff. Just makes it fun. So like, painting my planter. Alright, and we just have a little section left, and then we're done with this planter. And then we're going to move on to the third planner. Okay. all beautiful and all covered. Look at that, that looks great. Oh, did I miss a spot? I did. It's okay, I can go back. Okay, perfect, got it. Okay, now I'm going to put my paintbrush into the water so that it's easy for me to clean later. And then this one I'm going to put over to the side to dry. And we'll move that out of the way. Alright, next it's time for our big planter as well. So like I said, I'm just going to paint the top portion here with this shade of green. It's more like a teal color actually. So we're just going to paint the top. Then after that, I'm going to pause the video to let my planters dry, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, see you in a bit. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes and my pots are now dry. So here is the terracotta pot with the metallic paint that I used. So we're going to take the tape off now so we can see our work that we did. So like I said, using the painter's tape is great because it doesn't cause any damage to your project when you're removing the tape. And then you get those perfect straight lines like so. Alright, and now the other side. And ta-da! We've got a pretty design on our planter. Now, if you wanted to, you could decorate this some more, but I think I'm going to leave it just like this. So this is my first pot. So we'll put that there. And then this is my second one. I'm going to leave it just like this. Like I said, I did that teal color just around the top. And then we'll put that one off to the side. And then we have our plastic yogurt cup that we painted teal as well. But with this one, I do want to add a little something else. So I'm going to grab another color. Just slide those in your sack. And I think I'm just going to keep it simple, but I like drawing happy faces on my things, so just right, I'm just going to pick a side, doesn't matter. Pick there, grab my paintbrush, and just going to make a circle for the eye, another circle for the other eye, and then a smiley face. So that's my planner. So I'm going to have at the end of this video pictures of all of our planters, and I'm going to put plants in them so you can see what that looks like. So here we have our yogurt container where we made a smiley face on that, and then we have our large plastic pot that I found here, and then we have our terracotta pot that, just try to get all of these in here, that we decorated. And the terracotta pot you can get at Lowe's. Sometimes I've found them at the dollar store, so if you just look around you might be able to find one. But your best bet is if you have an old plastic container lying around, putting some holes in the bottom and then painting it, you'll have this awesome project. So thank you for joining me today. If you'd like to find out more information, you can always look in the description box. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, or our website, and we have plenty more information there. Hope to see you soon. Bye!